There's no doubt there's a player in there. And as James said, maybe with a bit more continuity at this club, maybe we'll see a better Kai Havertz.
It's 68 million, though, Jan, for a player that could potentially just be a squad player. Surely for a fee like that, you're expecting a player to start.
Well, first of all, I think that this could be one of the smartest signings of the whole transfer window. I think that, with Craig is saying, and James also mentioned it, with a great coaching, he will take steps. This is one of my favourite players back in the Leverkusen days. Yes, he didn't succeed as we all hoped at Chelsea, but there were different reasons for that. And if you saw last season, I think everybody associated with Chelsea should just get that, forget that season. As for transfers fee, Kay, I mean, how shall we analyse that? Are they worth 62, 82, 81, 48, 47? We don't even have a relation to that anymore. He is a top-notch international player. He's playing for Germany. He's seen as one of the biggest talents, and I think it is a key. If Arsenal took him now from Germany, everybody would say it was a great signing. I think that Arsenal fans got to trust Arteta, as Craig said. He's seen as a part of their broader squad and the squad that or the first team. I don't think he's taken in now to be put on the bench. I was coincidentally today with the Arsenal captain Martin Ødegaard at an event that we talked about this player, and surely he knew all about his strength when he played for Bayer Leverkusen as well. So I think that when Arsenal are looking into the next season, where did it go wrong this season? It was when they did have precious time, when they had players injured. Who should they put on? Which kind of skills did they have available? And with Kai Havertz, they got a 8, a 10. He can play as a striker. So I think this is a very smart signing. It's like signing 2 players.
I mean, we talk about money. Look, in an ideal world, you fill your bench out with cheap players that are really good and the free transfers, and Bob's your uncle. But that's not the universe that we're operating in. Man City had, you know, like Riyad Mahrez, 60 million from Leicester, who's been great, but spent a lot of time on the bench last year. Jack Grealish, 100 million. Great season this season. Last year spent a lot of time on the bench. Unfortunately, if Arsenal want to compete with these teams, they're going to have to spend money or find some real gems somewhere on the cheap to really be able to make that difference. And those ones are really difficult. And so I think you have to go out and spend, and ultimately you're building a squad and it's not going to be cheap. And Arsenal have been burnt before with some players coming in, you know, thinking recently from France, Pepe comes in, big money, didn't really cut it. So there are risks to this, but what's the alternative? What is the alternative for Arsenal? If they don't go and drive forward again, they'll fall even further behind. So, yeah, it was a surprise when I heard this news, and yeah, the player hasn't been in great form, but when you look at it from Arsenal's perspective and you look at the different facets he may bring to this team, there is a player in there, and clearly Arsenal think, and Mikel Arteta thinks, that he can get more out of Kai Havertz, a lot more than what Chelsea have been able to do.
Are you agreeing along there, James?
Yeah, I just, while you were talking, I just dug out a piece that I did for the site a few weeks ago that it kind of illustrates exactly what Craig was saying, that Bukayo Saka, fantastic season, played very well. He played 3,131 minutes last season. Odegaard played over 3,000 minutes. Martinelli played 2,800 minutes. If you compare that to City's wide players, their creative attacking players, the player they used the most was Rodri, 2,800 minutes. But people like Bernardo Silva, 2,100 minutes. Riyad Mahrez, 2,000 minutes. Jack Grealish, 2,000 minutes. Phil Foden, 1,700 minutes. Even Kevin De Bruyne only played 2,300 minutes. So they're all, I mean, you're talking, what, 900 minutes there? You know, you're talking 10 games over the course of the season that Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard and Gabriel Martinelli were having to play. And they don't have the experience of being able to manage the pressure of a run-in, but physically they were asked to do so much. And it is also in that piece that Bukayo Saka was carrying an injury. In fact, Gareth Southgate's confirmed it since with England. Mikel Arteta said it right at the end of the season, but we had that story first, that he actually had been carrying an Achilles problem for several weeks, but he was playing through the pain, trying to keep going, trying to get Arsenal over the line in the title race. And they just do not have the same quality of interchangeable players, particularly in those wide areas, that Manchester City have. And I think that's, if you think of it in that context, you then start to look at Havertz. It starts to make a lot more sense, right? Because if you're bringing in Havertz at his peak in good quality, good form, for an Odegaard for a game, or to give Saka a rest so he can start maybe a game on the bench, and if you need him, you can bring him on. For Martinelli, you start to think, as I said earlier, about this idea that they're looking for players who are much more interchangeable. And it is obviously quite a lot like Manchester City. There's no surprise in that because of Arteta and Guardiola and their history and their similar visions of football. So I'm not saying it's a guaranteed success, but I was surprised when the name first came up, but the more you look at it, the more you sort of think, well, those are the reasons that they would bring in a player like that with that profile, because, of course, they've also got the Champions League to contend with for the first time in 6 years. And so they're not going to be able to rotate half the squad for a Europa League game and try and manage a Thursday-Sunday schedule like that. They're going to have a tough group. The coefficient's not great. They're going to be playing elite-level opposition 3 times a week. So they're going to need to rotate more in those attacking positions. And that is where I think Havertz and the fee and the profile makes a lot of sense.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.